But for me, I think that at a minimum, every academic should be on LinkedIn or Twitter. And I'm going to go through over the next couple of minutes to explain why that is and how it can benefit you. Hey, Dr. Ken Dutton-Regester here from Stemventurist. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. So a couple of months ago, I got asked to give a keynote seminar at Durham University's Academic Development Career Office. They had an online seminar conference around the use of social media and how it can benefit academics. So I thought I'd do something a little bit different and take this keynote seminar and chop it up into a multi-part series talking about how social media can benefit you as an academic. Hope you enjoy. All right, so to get into the talk, I thought today I would make it a little bit more basic. I know that there's some talks coming up about how to use LinkedIn and Twitter specifically, and so I thought today I would just sort of like explain why you should be on social media and show you some examples, both personally and other people that I know how they've really benefited from it. So why should you invest time into social media as an academic? It's a good question. And the reason that I am going to say today is because it can benefit you. And I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking, well, that seems pretty selfish. And to be honest, it is a little bit. But I think if you really want to get people engaged in social media, I think if you can put it in a way that you can see how it's beneficial to yourself, I think you're going to get more uptake. But despite that, it's really for the greater good. So hopefully today I'll be able to convince you that by getting into social media, that embracing that and trying to reach out to your fellow colleagues or the community can really help raise the profile of research. And this has a lot of flow-on effects, for the industry, because when you think about it, all of our funds, that allows a lot of our research to happen come from the government. And this, is based on this is based on the population sentiment and respect of what science is. So, but despite that, I'm going to totally back trend and back reverse and immediately say, it's actually not about you. And this might actually make people a bit more comfortable in getting in social media, is that those that are successful in social media and those that really spread their message far and wide, it's because they're adding value. And if there's one thing that I want to get you through today, is that when you're doing social media, it's all about the value. How much value can you provide? So one of the important things is to know what is valuable. So for example here, if I gave my 3-year-old son a Batman and a Superman toy of Lego, he's going to be super stoked. But if I give it to my wife, who's actually sitting behind the camera here, for one of our wedding anniversaries, I don't think she would be as excited. And that's because I know that she really wants to head to Africa and go see some giraffes. And so the point here is that it's really important to know your audience, because where you're setting up and doing a lot of social media activities really depends on what your tone and what you're trying to achieve. And this really comes down to the point of, which is the best platform to use, because, as you'd be aware, there's so many different platforms, from LinkedIn to Twitter to Facebook to YouTube. And so, which platform do you use? Now, it really comes down to what you're trying to achieve and or what audiences you're trying to reach. But for me, I think that at a minimum, every academic should be on LinkedIn or Twitter. And I'm going to go through over the next couple of minutes to explain why that is and how it can benefit you. All right, so why LinkedIn? Well, firstly, it's really a great opportunity to be seen. Now, I can't tell you the number of times that I've heard about a PhD's research, someone I've never met before. Maybe I saw a quick clip on their institution's social media feed, and I wanted to find out more about them to see if I could collaborate with them or just ask them some more questions about their research. I'm getting into double digits now the times that I've tried to search for a PhD student to find their contact details or a little bit more about them, and I type that into Google and I get nothing. And so if I'm trying to do that and trying to reach out to people, I can guarantee that there's other people trying to potentially reach out to you and not being able to because some people haven't set up their web or online presence. Hey, Ken here. Just quickly interrupting you. If you're finding this video really valuable, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we're all about providing more content and more advice to help scientists and academics achieve their career goals, whether that's inside or outside of academia. Let's get back into it. And to put it into more context about the seriousness of this is that I've definitely heard from people on grant review panels that, when they go into these panels, they've got like 20 to 30 different applications they're trying to assess at one time. Sometimes just due to the nature of not having enough time, they're looking at these applications the night before, really rushed. And when they're in those review panels, they're flipping up the laptop, looking to see, what researcher they're talking about. And if they can't see you on Google, it doesn't really show good on your behalf because it looks like you're not really making an impact in your field. And so there's really a couple of different ways in how you can build your online profile or your presence. And so one of those ways is to set up an internal profile. So using your institution's website, if you have that capability. So for my institution, postdocs are allowed to put their profile on the website. Now, the good thing is that it ranks highly in Google, so if someone searches you, this will come up. And it does look very credible because it's associated with an institute. But the problem is that it's a very rigid structure. You have to stick to certain formats. Maybe there's only certain content you can put in there. It's extremely hard to update. You might put in a request to update and it might take a month to 2 months to get changed. But on the flip side, it is free to set up. Now, alternatively, you could do the approach of a personal website, and this is the ultimate extreme of customizability. Is that a word? It's extremely easy to update, and it can be free or cost money depending on what you do. The Google ranking can be good or bad depending on which platform you're on, but the problem is that it's an extremely steep learning curve. Trying to understand how to use that platform is a bit of a high barrier. And this is really where LinkedIn comes into its own because it's an extremely low barrier to entry. It's extremely easy to update. It's free. And there's really good, decent functionality in terms of what you can actually put in there in terms of different content. And it does rank really highly in Google. So as soon as you set up one of these profiles, if you search for your name, it's going to come straight up at the top. And that's really what you want to achieve. And so I see LinkedIn essentially as your digital business card or even your online CV so that people can find you, find your contact details, learn a little bit more about them, and then potentially see what experiences you have to see if they want to reach out. So some of the things that you can do with a LinkedIn profile is you can link in all your publications and your awards. I like to put in my Google Scholar account, and if you don't have one of them, definitely spend 5 minutes to quickly set up one of them. I find Google Scholar is a really great way to just concisely put in all your papers in a really tight format instead of having a list of papers. It may not be that important if you're just starting your publication record, but as you get further down the line, a big list can be quite daunting, and Google Scholar helps tighten it up quite well. But you can also add some fun different media. So not only can you introduce your publications, but you can maybe put some media that you've done. And for example, this is Dance Your PhD. I don't know sure if you're familiar with this, but this is a competition run by Science Magazine once every year to 2 years. And so last year I decided to give it a go. And if you're curious about that and you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put the link up here. And I definitely recommend because it's actually based on a Benny Benassi absolute dance banger, Satisfaction. And if you remember that song and you remember that film clip, this is based on that, so you can check that out. It's a bit of an Easter egg in the break. But ultimately it comes down to, even though that this might seem like self-promoting, it's all about providing value. And so one way to think about it is that with LinkedIn, if you meet someone randomly out of the blue, maybe it's in a corridor in a pre-COVID or post-COVID world, or if you're at a conference, you can instantly add them to LinkedIn and you can send them a quick message reconfirming how you met them. And so this makes it really valuable both to you and them, that if you do remember that conversation, you do want to get back to that person, whether it's a year or 3 years or 5 years down the line, then you know how to access and get in reach with them. But it can also provide value because you could potentially be seeking a job, and this allows you to have a platform that potential employers can see what your track record is and what your expertise is. And there are definitely headhunters on that platform looking to recruit different staff for different industries. So it could also be a potential value not only to yourself in terms of job applications if you're within or outside of academia, but also to those headhunters or potential employers. So if you are sending a first message on LinkedIn, either from someone you've just quickly met or just someone out of the blue, don't just go, "Thanks for adding me," if they have added you. Definitely don't introduce yourself by saying, "Hey, sexy," or say, "Can I have a job?" These are things that aren't really adding value to the conversation. So instead, what you want to do is, say something, I maybe saw your paper or I read your paper and I really enjoyed it. I had a question about start a dialogue. Maybe it's, it was nice meeting you at the conference. Here's that article or, video that we were talking about during then. Or, I noticed that you've got some experience in this field. I'm really keen to try and move into that, and I'd be, keen to talk to you a little bit more about it to see what things you did to get where you are. So it's all about opening dialogue and adding value. And if that's the key thing that I'm going to keep going and drilling into you today is add value wherever you can. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. As always, if you enjoyed the content and you find it valuable, please subscribe to the channel or like this video. This will help tell the algorithms that this content is valuable and spread it further and wider, and will help more scientists and academics get the advice to achieve their career goals, whether that's inside or outside of academia. As always, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And if you want more of the other videos associated with this video series, make sure to follow these links. Catch you next time.